Thank you so much for being here and for clicking on this video. Today we have our end of the season garden tour. I am filming alone. My husband couldn't be here today. Normally we like to do these types of videos together, but today it's just me. So we're going to take you through all of our garden spaces that we have. We have quite a few. We are going to show you some successes and some complete failures. I'm going to show you the greenhouse, what we call the house garden is this one, what we call our backfield, and then our cornfield. And then I'm also going to show you a couple of farm projects that we have going on. They're farm projects in order to make this a sustainable place where, like a homestead, where we can harvest and preserve food and keep food and store food, and then also a space to be able to bring food in the meantime while we're getting ready for farmers markets in future seasons. So it's just all of those little pieces are kind of starting to come together, and I will show you the progress that we've made so far this year. This is our first summer in this house, first summer growing in this ground. We bought this house last winter, and let's get right into it. Today we just got back from the farmer's market, so that's why I'm in my Mid-Valley Farm shirt, but we're going to start here in the house garden. We call it that because it is in close proximity to the house, and it's also the ground, the garden ground that the previous homeowners used to grow in. So the stuff in this soil did do pretty well. Now, since it is our first year, we learned that we have really high pH at this house. And that's been something that we're trying to combat, and you'll see that in other garden spaces. So I'll kind of walk you through what's in here. Over on this end of the garden, that back row back over there, we have some carrots, and we have a ton of them going to seed. We did not do very well with carrots this year. Yet again, the carrots have been our downfall for a while. I'll show you just what they look like in here. They're not too impressive, not big carrots. We will harvest them and be able to put them in the root cellar probably though, but these did not end up going to market, and you can see just how many of them went to seed. If someone could leave in the comments why carrots go to seed, I really need to brush up on that. I should just research it myself, but if you know, pop that down in the comments. I would like to read it. Over here we have some onions, and they haven't been weeded in a while, so bear with us on the weeds, but they are doing pretty well this year. We have two varieties that did really well this year, and one variety that did not. I know the red burgundy did not, but these other two varieties really did do really well. Like, look at these onions over here. I'm really excited to be able to harvest these and hopefully get them cured properly so we can enjoy them all winter long. We have been selling a couple of onions, but not that many. These are really for our personal use. Over in this row right next to where the onions are, we have golden beets. I'm really glad that we decided to do these this year. They are gorgeous. I should pull one out just to show you. They are beautiful. They are like a nice yellow orange color, and they are so sweet and yummy. So I have really liked having those. I'll come back and get this after I'm done filming, but I've already taken quite a few. That's why this row is looking so bare. Here's another big one I'll show you. Look how huge that thing is. All these weeds in here. It is huge. So I really like this variety. I'm going to make sure to grow those again. We also have some beets that are going to seed in here this year. As you can see right here, I'm hoping to harvest these in order to just save that seed head. And that will be our first year experimenting with that. I've never saved our beet seed. We do have some Swiss chard over here, which I've heard they can cross-pollinate. But our Swiss chard is not going to seed. They're right there. So hopefully we're good to go saving these beet seeds. If somebody knows about saving beet seeds, I would love to read it in the comments. I've watched a couple videos, but it's something we're new to and we're learning about. Now, these rows of beets behind me, these are two varieties of red beets. I'll try to find them and put them on the screen right now if you're curious which varieties they are. They did really well this year, except for the fact that we have a lot of mice or voles in here eating them. So we've salvaged what we can as far as what we can take to farmers market. The rest of them we will use ourselves after we cut away the part that's been nibbled on. And that's a little bit disappointing because we have a lot of beets in here, a lot of money in beets in here as far as like what they could bring money-wise. And we're just going to have to really go heavy on canning beets this year for our own pantry, which is very nice to have, but it's money we're kind of missing out on when we didn't need all those beets. But at least they're not going to go to waste all the way. And the way we like to grow our beets is as we are growing them, we kind of like to thin them, and those beets that we thin, we take to market, and it allows other room for other beets to grow around. So I already went through and started just really harvesting the beets to get rid of some of those ones that had been eaten by voles. But this is an example of what we have going on that the voles are doing. Look at that damage in there. Oh, let me get you in there. Okay. Look at that damage in there. It is so frustrating when you think you're going to pull up a giant beet and it is half eaten. This next little row right here, these are all artichokes, and we are in Montana, and we've been growing artichokes in Montana for a long time. It's kind of one of our favorites just for our own personal use. It's Imperial Star Artichoke. That's the variety we found that we can grow here because it flowers the first season. It doesn't need to go dormant and then come back and flower the second season, as a lot of them do. Back behind me here, we have a bunch of just zucchini. We like growing Ford Hook zucchini, and we tried a Golden Delight zucchini, which was from Haas. We really liked that one this year. It's a nice yellow zucchini, and it was pretty prolific, so we'll grow that one again next year for sure, as well as our tried and trusted Ford Hook zucchini as well. Back there, we have some patty pans. I'll go show you the patty pans. They are coming along really well. We've harvested a ton, and we'll continue to harvest as many as we can until we get that frost, maybe at the end of the week. Hopefully we won't, though, but it's coming. So these are the patty pan plants. They are huge. I'll give you a peek inside. There are a ton in there. We already harvested recently for market because we just went today. But let me see if I can find some white ones, because I just showed you the yellow ones. And then there are some white ones that we also have. And we harvest those very frequently to encourage the plant to continue to grow. Over here, I'm in the squash jungle. We have a lot of different spaghetti squash and other kinds of winter squash in here. We have a couple new varieties that we tried out this year. Spaghetti squash we've always grown, but the other varieties are new to us. I'm not quite familiar with them, but I'm really excited to get to try them. And once we do get that frost, as long as it's not a very intense frost that hurts this produce, we will come in here and really clip them all out of here, but we're really just letting them go as long as they can, because if you've been following our channel, you already know we got frost June 19th. So all of these plants were growing and were beautiful, and then pretty much completely died back and then resprouted and now have produced. So it's really cool that they did produce this year, but we're just letting them go and grow as long as they possibly can, because I don't want to harvest immature winter squash because we want this to store well. So we're letting them go as long as we can, but they're doing pretty well, and I'm hoping to get a lot of winter squash out of this. Okay, while I'm in here, I did find this other one I was just about to step on. This is a new variety to us this year. I'll put the name on the screen here. I'm really excited to try this variety as well. I heard they were really good, so you don't know till you try something, right? So we're going to try them this year. And if you have a variety of winter squash that you really like, that keeps forever, that is prolific, please leave it in the comments. I would really love to read that, because we are always looking for new ideas and new varieties. All right, in this general region, we have a bunch, real quick though, these are those Golden Delight zucchinis from Haas. They are really awesome. Okay, back to what I was saying. We have a bunch of tomatillos over here, and they are probably not going to make it for the year. When I feel these, there is not much going on in there as far as having a big bulb of fruit and being ready. So these will probably just end up getting frosted, and we won't get any tomatillos. And you can see they're just like sprawled out on the ground. When we did get that frost, honestly, we got lazy and we decided to not cage anything in this garden space, because a lot of this stuff we dug up from a different garden space and brought in here because the other space had bad soil, and it was kind of a mess. So all of our tomatoes, we kind of just let go. We were losing hope at that moment. Kind of wish we would have caged them, but you know what? This has worked just fine this year. Over here we have some tomatoes that are laying on the ground. Not really my favorite way to grow tomatoes, but with this weed mat, it's been decent. These are Too Tasty tomatoes. They've been pretty good this year. They're kind of a neat little color. I think we'll probably keep those for next year and continue to grow those. They kind of grow in cool little clusters with a lot of them in there. Down here, we transplanted a bunch of So backstory a little bit. We had a garden in the back this year at the back field that I'll show you at the very end of this video. And it has really high pH. And we figured that out after we had already planted everything. And once we put tomatoes in, they started to die back and do really poorly. So all of these plants you see right here, they were dug up and brought in here after the fact from the other garden. Then they frosted. Then they bounced back and they did produce a lot of fruit. These are bush steak tomatoes. So the plants, you can see, like, they don't get very big. This is a bush steak variety right here. We already picked the green tomatoes off this because we're preparing for our frost. It was loaded with fruit still. It was so surprising this year. And over here we have 2 rows of succession planted green beans. These are our green beans we've been saving every year from a neighbor. Don't know the variety name, but we really do enjoy them. They seem to kind of produce for a decent amount of time. If you pick the first little crop of them, they will kind of put on some more flowers. So it's not just like one and done like a lot of green beans. In our opinion, you can get a little bit more out of this particular variety, which I don't know the variety name. So I'm sorry, that's not very helpful. But we did succession planting, so that one over there, those are a little bit later. So these have kind of started to stop producing at this point. I mean, there's a couple on here. Here's another one, but those are now producing. And we have harvested quite a bit off of them. And they're just a really good staple to have. And we've been canning some green beans and selling some green beans, so that's been good. Okay, I realize it looks like you're looking at a mess of weeds, but there are potato plants in here. Right here's a potato plant. Right here. Right here's a potato plant, and they kind of go back. They're really starting to die off, which is what they should be doing. And we will harvest these really soon, any day now, honestly. We've already been digging potatoes in the back, or I should say my husband's already been digging a lot of potatoes in the back, and we'll show you some of those and what we're doing with them in the meantime. We planted 800 feet of potatoes this year in our back field that had bad soil. When we realized the soil was the quality it was, we popped a row of potatoes in over here. These are all Huckleberry Gold for the most part. There is a little bit of a red potato that we like to grow in the back as well. But this was just a little bit of extra insurance. They grew really well in here, but now they are dying back. And for us, we typically don't harvest potatoes when they're dying back. Like, they don't have a long enough season with us to start to die back with what we've experienced. But in our soil here, they've started to die back quite a bit. So that's just been an interesting takeaway for us this year with the potatoes and, you know, everything overall in the garden. Every year is about learning, and we're learning the new property. Over in here we have some turnips, and we haven't really grown turnips in the past. Like, turnips are new to us. So I'm looking for ways to enjoy turnips. If you have ideas, please leave them in the comments. Kind of just an experiment, see if we like them. So they did really well. They got really huge. There's a bunch of them in here this big. So we have to find some way to enjoy them. Down this area, we have some cucumbers we put outdoors. We have I think it's called Parisian cucumber. It's a little pickler. We did like those a lot. We will probably grow those again. We also found this long English cucumber. This is kind of a small one, but these did really well this year for us, and they were a big hit at the farmer's market. We will probably continue to grow this variety. And then our Bite Alpha cucumbers. Let me grab one. Okay, this is a tiny one. We just picked the garden yesterday for the farmer's market, but Bite Alpha, these are so amazing. They're never bitter. They're not like really seedy or anything gross like that. You don't have to cut an end off when you eat them. They're really good, and they don't need a pollinator. All the flowers will make a cucumber. They're really cool. This variety is definitely one to hold on to and to keep growing, and we will keep growing them. And I like that you can pick them at this size, and they're yummy, and you can pick them when they're like this size, and they're still yummy. And it's just a really good variety. We also grew these in our greenhouse, and we've had tons of cucumbers, so we've made relish and lots of pickles. And I did a kimchi this year. We need more cucumber recipes, so if you have some, please let us know. I would love to read those. All right, let's go to the back of the garden over towards the arch. On our way to the arch, we have some trampled bean plants, but right here we grew a variety of green bean, or yellow bean. Really, it's a green bean, but it's yellow, called Carson. And these ones have a really yummy flavor. This is a really tiny one I picked. These are really tiny. Let me find just what they look like. They just look like a typical bean, really. I don't know. They're almost done, so I don't have many examples to show you on here. There's a good example. But they have a really yummy flavor, which I really enjoyed about them this year. And since they're yellow, they're easy to pick, they're easy to find. I kind of think we'll grow these again next year, but they weren't that prolific. So that's kind of my hang up. But I did like them. They sold really well at the farmer's market because they look kind of neat. They add a pop of color to the table. All right, we're kind of working our way backwards and we're getting over to the arch. But right here, we decided to grow some soybeans. Now, soybeans is like a very popular staple crop for our country, you know. But we decided to grow them because we don't know the means those are grown with. And my kids really like just eating the little soybean pods in here. They are almost ready. I hope we're going to end up getting them so we can eat those little pods in there. But this whole row is soybeans. And then back here we have some more winter squash. I know over here we have more spaghetti squash and we have more marigold squash. I didn't mention those ones earlier. Those are our staple winter squash. They're orange squash. We've been talking about them in our other videos. We really like them. And they're just really yummy. They keep a very long time and they're just like a nice buttery flavor inside. They're just really good with like a creamy texture. So more winter squash. You back in there. Sponge back in there. 4 right there. There are a lot in here. A lot more than I thought. A mess of eggs. I'm to float test those. Here's a green cushaw squash. I didn't know these plants made it. Yay! That's exciting to find one of these. And when there's one, there'll probably be more. So great. Those are super yummy. These are winter squash and they taste kind of like zucchini. So whenever you don't have zucchini, it's kind of nice to have a substitute. A couple tomatoes we popped in back there that we did cage and the tomatoes are still green. So outside growing tomatoes this season for us has not really worked out. Now in the greenhouse, we have harvested so many tomatoes, but we're going to go over there in just a minute. Okay, so over here we have parsley, a little bit of thyme, a little bit of basil. This arch right here was intended for pole beans, and you can see that's kind of a failure. They did not really do anything yet. Oh, look, there's a little pole bean, but not prolific. So I envisioned this to be a lot cooler looking at the beginning of the season, and it didn't really pay off. So lesson learned, we're probably not going to do pole beans next year. They just don't really seem to be worth it. They're barely just flowering now. Oh, there's a couple more. I'm inside of our arch. I really love this arch. I kind of want to do more next year, although it does create some shade. So that's something to think about when growing vertically, is all the shade that's in here, which we did kind of plan for it, planting these herbs in here, and they haven't went to seeds. That has kind of helped them as far as not going to seed and not, you know, signaling to the plant that they need to be done. In here, what we have are Rapicante zucchini. And I kind of have a bit of a complaint this year with Rapicante zucchini. Well, with the seed that we grew. This is not what our Rapicante zucchini ended up looking like last year. The seed that we ended up planting this year, it must have got crossed somewhere with something else. These are very tender. They're very good, but they will not end up keeping for a long period of time. I actually have one Rapicante zucchini left from last year's garden in our pantry, and we're probably going to cook it and use it. So the variety that we thought we were going to be growing is not what we ended up growing. These are good, but they do not have that storage quality that we expected from growing Rapicante zucchini. They are really fun zucchini to grow though, and they're super prolific. So try them out maybe, but I hope you get the right kind of Rapicante zucchini, not what we ended up getting this year. It was a little bit off. So live and learn, and things happen, right? But I do really like this trellis, how they're growing and coming down. It is pretty cool, and yeah, I'm going to repeat this next year for sure, even with the shade. That'll be okay. Okay, let's take you over to the greenhouse to see what we have growing in there. It's very beautiful in there, in my opinion. Here we are in the greenhouse. I have loved having this greenhouse this year. It's been so nice. And spoiler alert, we're kind of thinking of adding another greenhouse for next year, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that in our channel in the future. So right here we have sweet potatoes, and you can see they're doing great. Look, they're vining all the way up. There are tubers growing in here. I've seen lots of bulging happening, and I'm really excited to dig these up this year. I'm sure we'll make a video about it on our channel. Last year we grew sweet potatoes outside in the ground. It was really hard digging them up. Much harder than traditional potatoes. The ones we grew, they just grew very strange out to the side and like up and in. So we decided to use pots this year, and also then we could control the soil and make sure the ground wasn't too hard so we could get them all out. In the greenhouse, how we did it this year is we have over there eggplant, cucumbers, cherry tomatoes. These are like heirloom looking tomatoes, like big beautiful tomatoes. More cucumbers. All the cucumbers are by Alpha in here, the variety I already talked about. Then we have 2 more rows of tomatoes. On this side over here we have some watermelons, and I'm going to show you the watermelons because they're actually producing watermelons. It's our first year we've ever been able to grow watermelons. And it's because of the greenhouse, of course, but it's still an accomplishment. And then the other thing we have in here are green chilies. They are hatch green chilies, obviously not grown in hatch, but that's what we put in here. Let me show you around. All right, so here are some of the watermelons. We have 2 varieties growing in here, and we harvested one so far. We harvested one of these, and this one's not quite ready to harvest. We're waiting for that tendril to really show that it's dry and crispy. But it was pretty good. It was a red watermelon, kind of full of seeds though, so that was a bit of a complaint. This watermelon over here, I mean, look at this thing. It's huge. I'm really excited for it. We have a couple of these big guys in here too. That one's going to be an orange watermelon. So there's another one of them. Look how big that thing is. It's crazy. I'm really excited for those. Okay, I decided to get the tripod because I want you to see how big this watermelon is. In Montana, this is crazy to be able to grow, in my perspective, from what we've been growing, and I'm really happy about it. So we made a video earlier, and in that video I said, I don't think we're going to grow watermelons anymore. They're not doing much. Then they started to grow after we started pruning them, and once I started learning more about them and how they grow, I will compare them to a cucumber now when I'm pruning them and can use those same methods, which I just wasn't aware of because we've never really successfully grown them. And next year I'm thinking we will also grow these vertically and kind of brace up the watermelons when they do start to form. And then we won't be using all of this space and have this big mess. But I'm excited to try watermelons again and hopefully find a variety with less seeds if possible, because it's a fun thing to be able to grow. This row right here is all hatch green chili. You can see that plant's kind of struggling to just stand up. We did just harvest all the really big ones for the farmer's market, so the ones that are on here right now, they honestly aren't that big. They will continue to get bigger, and the bigger they get, the more meaty that flesh is, and it makes it easier for peeling, so we're going to leave them for now. So I just brought you to the other side of the greenhouse where we have some eggplants. Look how gorgeous these are. I am really excited to have more eggplant. We've already had a bunch of them for ourselves. Now, we did not grow to the scale to be able to sell them, but to be able to grow them in here for just ourselves, we love them just sliced and on a grill with like some seasoning and olive oil. Really yummy. So we will continue to grow eggplant for sure. I also wanted to add, last year we grew that variety of eggplant outside, so not just in a greenhouse, but they did do well outside when we had the more preferable soil and we didn't get a frost June 19th. A killing frost June 19th. Okay, so right here we have the jungle kind of starts. Originally, I was really pruning everything, and now since we're right at the end of the season, I've let stuff go. And it's just that point in the season where you just decide it's going to grow however it's going to grow, and maybe it'll produce a little bit more fruit, and that'll be awesome. But I'm just going to let it go, and it's going to be a mess. So, Bite Alpha cucumbers over here. We did just harvest yesterday for farmer's market. They put on cucumbers quickly, though. I don't know if you can see, like, there's cucumbers all over the place on this thing. So we will continue to get those. Over on this side, these are cherry tomatoes over here. We did a video of a cherry tomato taste test, and we identified some varieties we definitely do like that we will continue to grow, and some that we're not growing anymore. black strawberry and blueberries. I know there are people out there who really love those. They're gorgeous. They're so pretty, but they just do not taste good in my opinion. So we're not going to grow those next year. There are varieties that we will definitely continue to grow. Of course, Sun Gold. We're going to do Sparky XSL next year. There are a bunch that will continue to grow, but every year's a learning, right? In here, my husband stuck one jalapeno plant. We had a chili pepper field with 1,000 plants in it that I'll show you in a minute. And it kind of failed. It kind of did okay, but it kind of failed. So only one of them made it into the greenhouse. He probably wishes he would have put more. So going down the cherry tomato row, look how gorgeous. And we have a lot of fruit that's set. And hopefully we can harvest this fruit before it freezes. Or keep this greenhouse so it won't freeze. This is one of those varieties we're not going to grow again. They're called blueberries. They're pretty, but not worth it flavor-wise. Shoo! Random chickens in the greenhouse. Sorry. Okay, so on this side we have those big, beautiful tomatoes I was telling you about. I'll show you some in a minute. It's kind of tricky to get the camera down these narrow rows and my face in front of it. So I'll just talk about them for a minute here. Varieties that have done amazing. Old German, pineapple, Cherokee Purple, all of those. We really like also, it's called Chef's Choice Bicolor. That one's really good too. There's been a lot that we've really liked this year, and they've done really well. We are really glad we did this cattle panel trellis system. It was really nice because you can just weave it in, and now that we've stopped pruning and they've taken a lot of leaders and kind of went everywhere, it's kind of held them in. So that's been really nice. And I'm also really glad too that we put these tomato rows back to back without space to get between them, and instead we're walking on the outsides of them. That has worked really well in order to make sure we can take advantage of just one more row in this greenhouse, because it's, you know, when you want to put so many plants, it ends up being a small space, and that has helped a lot, and I'm glad we did that. More cucumbers over here, Bite Alpha as well. So let's see. Like, I know it's green still, but look at how beautiful these tomatoes are. Gorgeous. Here's another big green beauty. I should crop in some pictures right here of some at the farmer's market that we just harvested. But look how pretty they are. And we've been picking tomatoes for about 5 weeks now, the big beautiful ones. So the plants are starting to get a little higher up with where the fruit is set. And we'll see how many more we can continue to get. We are almost out of the greenhouse. We are onto the more messy side of things. Over here. Plants going everywhere, all in my hair, sorry. But this row right here, these we started back in March, and they weren't originally pruned at all. They sprawled out on the ground. We ended up trellising them with these little wires, which has been okay. I do really like the cattle panel a lot better because these can kind of fall sometimes with how we did it. I don't know, I just prefer the other one myself. And we're obviously not pruning this. We've kind of just let it go. Like I said, we're at that point in the season where I'm just going to let it go. And they are still producing fruit, so it's been good. We have pretty much 2 varieties on this side. We have Bloody Butcher, which are these little, this one's not quite ripe yet, but, or it's this one because we just picked, but they're just little tomatoes. They will turn red. They're just like an acidic tomato, really good. Golf ball sized. And then back here, which becomes more of a jungle, are Sun Gold tomatoes, and if you've grown them before, you know what I'm talking about with how much of a jungle they become. On this side here, we stuck a couple more of those like big, pretty, just like heirloom looking, might be heirloom, might just not be heirloom, tomatoes on this side, and there are some big ones that are starting to come in, and either way, we will at least pick them green before the frost. But I'm hoping we can just keep this space warm enough to not freeze at night for a bit longer than the outside. So that's it in the greenhouse. This greenhouse this year, with how we planted it, was an experiment for us. We didn't know about growing in a greenhouse in the summer when you have to deal with temperatures outside that are 100 degrees, and then in here it can get really hot. And just having the fans going and deciding how we're going to regulate the temperature so we don't bake these plants, that was something that we had to learn about, and it really honestly went really well. We just opened both doors and opened all the vents and let it go. If we got a big windstorm, we came out here and shut things down, which is taking a bit of a risk because you never know when you're going to get just a big windstorm blowing in. where we live. It kind of can happen a lot. But this ended up being a huge success, and I'm really glad we did it, because if we wouldn't have kind of experimented with this, we wouldn't have had nearly as much produce this year. So this was one of those experiments that really paid off this year, and I'm really glad we did it. And it's kind of like a reminder to like keep trying new things. If you think, oh, I can't do this because of this or this or this, find a way to maybe do it, because this paid off, and we're definitely going to repeat again next year. And we kind of know we need this space even duplicated somewhere else now, because our outside stuff didn't do so well, and then we got that frost, and our next frost is coming any day now. By the way, today's September 14th, and by the end of the week we might have a frost, like a killing frost. So we'll see. Let's take you over to the cornfield, which is right behind this greenhouse. Okay, through the back door of the greenhouse, there is our sweet cornfield. Now this planting you're looking at right here with all the weeds, yes, we have a ton of weeds this year. Next year we're going to have to get on them a little bit better. But this planting right here is 3 weeks out from being ripe. So I do not think we're going to get corn off of this particular planting. Let's look at, I don't even want to look at one of them. They're so far behind. I mean, like really immature. I am all the way onto the other end of the field over here, where this is our first planting that this week was the first week it was ready to take to farmer's market. So let me show you one of them real quick. This is a nice bicolor corn and really pretty. I mean, really pretty. The kernels are getting pretty filled out. I would like them a little bit more filled out. It's really sweet at this point, but we are scared we're going to get a frost soon. So we are harvesting what we can, and we took some to market. We've been eating it like crazy, and this is kind of where it's at this year. It is disappointing this year that this cornfield is where it is, because this is a lot of money sitting out here in corn that we could really use, as everybody can use money, right? And right now, part of it, we're probably just going to have to say, well, it was a cover crop, and it sucked out some nitrogen, because this was really high in nitrogen, this ground over here, and kind of think of it that way to put a positive spin on it. It's doing something for the ground, but yeah, you just kind of learn something every year. We didn't know it would be that long out. It took a very long time to mature this year, longer than years past. We've grown this variety before, and that's just what happened. There is a helicopter going over, and I hope you can hear me. If not, I apologize for how loud that is right now. So, cornfield, starting to come along. At night, when we're worried about temps, we do water at night. Right in that early part of the morning, we wake up, and my husband wakes up and comes out here and turns on the irrigation to hopefully keep frost off these plants. And we're hoping to do that for as long as we can, so that we can use some of this corn this year. Okay, so we are at the cornfield right now. I'm going to take you over there, right behind that fence, to our garden that is a failure. And our hay field over there. Currently the hay has been cut, and then it got rained on, so we're probably going to have a loss with that hay as well. But yeah, let's go over to that garden space. Real quick right here, these are some new raspberries we threw in this year. We are hoping that eventually, perhaps, we open up this other yard right here, kind of put a fence right by those rocks, and expand that to garden space depending on the soil type. And then create a gate right here, either right on the side of the raspberries or right in the middle of them. That would be pretty cool when they continue to get bigger and bigger. And that would also force us to keep them pretty pruned back. So they've done pretty good as far as getting established. I heard ya. You remember I said I would tell you about some of the projects that we've been working on to make this a more functional farm, with all the places to put the produce and to store the produce and to get it ready for market and all of that. This building is new. We had this building put up this spring. We're going to have half of it be living quarters and a portion of it be storage, and then a portion of it be a cold room for produce. Let me take you inside to see the blank slate that it's at right now. Okay, here we are. a big blank slate, and I know it's really echoey in here. So we have it all mapped out with what we're going to do in here. But this will be a fun winter project, and probably into next spring, to get it all set up. The cold room we're planning on, it's going to be right over in this area, and then there's going to be like a shop, and then there's going to be a bedroom, and all these other things are planned for in here. This will also be a nice place to park the tractor to keep it out of the elements, and also our vehicles when we do get those 40 below cold winter nights, somewhere to have the vehicles so that we can start the vehicles in the morning. But anyways, this is this work in progress. I just wanted to show you because you have to think about where to put all the produce when you have a lot of produce, the amount of produce that we wanted to have as you're getting it ready for market and as you're selling it or whatever, distributing it. So you have to have a place to put that, and that's what this will accomplish eventually. Hi, pretty. Look at all those flies on you. Shake them. Shake them. Hi. Hi. How are you doing? Just hanging out? Yeah, get those flies off. Sorry, girl. Here we are at the failure garden. This is a 200 by 100 foot plot of garden that we spent so much time this spring putting together. 400 feet of potatoes here. There's 400 more feet of potatoes on the other side. There were about 250 tomato plants in here, 500 strawberries, about 1,000 chilies and peppers, which that part did live. I'll show that to you in a minute. So the reason that this was a failure was due to the high pH, and we think high levels of boron as well. The plants weren't able to suck up the nutrients that are there, and this is what ended up happening. Now, we are salvaging potatoes out of here. They are not as plentiful as we had thought, and all these plants have died back since too. And remember I said we've never really dug on potato plants that have been died back before, so that is different for us. Just the soil's a little different here is what I'm thinking. We're not going to spend much time out here. We've made other videos about this particular garden plot. If you want to check them out on our channel. And you can follow the journey for how we learned about how bad this particular plot of land was. And we've probably come to the conclusion that we're not going to be growing here next year. We're going to move things all down to where we were earlier in the corn area and just kind of keep the produce over there. So let's look at what else is in here. So this area was those 500 strawberry plants that we have completely let go to weeds, and they were not going to make it. So we gave up on doing anything productive with it. We'll pull it out at the end of the season. Over here, though, this is our chili pepper field, and it has bounced back. These completely died off. There was ice on the weed mat the day they completely died off on June 19th. And they have bounced back, and it's kind of amazing that there is even anything happening with these plants. So they are producing. That said, they are not producing the same way they would have if they wouldn't have got frosted. But we are going to be getting something out of this massive field. You can see we have a sprinkler set up because we did chili night again last night, so sprinkler got turned on this morning. But I mean, there are some peppers in here. It's doing okay. It's not doing as great as we had thought originally, obviously. But it is amazing that they've produced anything. So let's see. I have banana peppers right here, I know. Oh yeah. Excited to make banana peppers soon. Those are going to be just for us to pickle. A lot of work we still need to do out here. And a lot of lessons learned. Let's keep going down. I mentioned it in one of our other videos, but we bought this weed mat from Vivor, and look at the quality of what has happened to it. It is just shredded in some areas. It's 1 year old, so we will not be doing that purchase again. Lesson learned. And also, it's supposed to let water go through. We had rain 3 days ago. There's standing water on this weed mat. More standing water on the weed mat. Here we are at the tomato garden failure. These tomato plants look nothing like what they should, as you saw from our greenhouse tomatoes and even our other garden tomatoes. I can't believe they've even made tomatoes, honestly. Okay, let's see what we got here. We have a half-ripe tomato with a ton of blossom end rot on a pretty much dead plant. So amazing it made something. I see some more tomatoes. I just picked some that look fine. Wow, wonder what kind they are. I could go look at the garden map and find out, but yeah. This particular field, obviously we stopped weeding it. When we put the plants in, we made a video about it, about how they just started to shrivel up and die and do all these very crazy things. And we realized we needed to move some plants immediately and that we couldn't count on this field to produce the bumper crop of tomatoes that we need to be able to be successful and sell tomatoes at the farmer's market. So we gave up on it. And good thing, because this is all these plants have done. And then they got frosted and died back completely, and then they bounced back to the point that you see right now. But it's just really interesting. A lot of lessons learned this year about soil type. Lots of alfalfa weed in there. Weeds and alfalfa. Ooh, look. I see. These are Berry's Crazy Cherry. This poor plant was destined for such a better life. These are the yummiest tomatoes, but yeah, it did not do what it should have. Okay, now we have a couple more things to look at. So this area right here, these were beans that were store-bought beans that we were going to grow just to have free store-bought beans that we would shell. And you can just see like the yellow color of them. We gave up on this obviously too, so that ended up just being a bit of a cover crop situation. Over here we had 4 more 100-foot rows of potatoes, and John has been working hard out here to dig all of these potatoes to get them ready for the winter. We have sold some of these potatoes, so that's been nice that we've been able to bank on a little bit of them, but not nearly 800 feet worth, planted about 18 inches apart. It doesn't add up. So we learned a lot about this soil. I've said it a couple of times. Next to us, we had 3 100-foot rows. I think those were 3-foot spacing though, of the vining squash, the winter squash, and a lot of those we pulled to the other garden, which you saw, and they lived, and they look completely different than anything you see in this field. Now, with all this said, it is remarkable to me how many weeds grow in this soil, considering it was so bad for our plants that we were trying to grow. But, you know, you got to learn somehow, and sometimes you have to learn the tough way. That's what we did this year. Real quick, I want to see if I can find a winter squash that I didn't pull and show you how big it is. There's one. Look how tiny and pathetic that is. Crazy. Okay, here we go. This is our giant work in progress. This is the root cellar, and I'm going to take you in it in a minute. It is dark in there. Lighting is still not up. It's obviously not buried. Rock work is not done. The dig out right here is not done. The door's not even done. The roof's not done. Nothing's done. So please don't judge this too hard, because it's a work in progress, and we're kind of limited right now because we are in the process of getting a new tractor. So that has been a big hang up with this, but this will be really nice to have for all the produce over the winter months, to be able to store them for our family. And in the future, when we're hauling stuff in off the garden, before we have that cold room built, we're thinking we're going to be able to put some of the stuff in here as we're getting it ready for the farmer's market, to keep it like a fridge, to keep it cool. So that will be really nice. Hopefully next summer we'll be able to take advantage of that. But we are going to have a video on our channel about this build from this root cellar. So stick around, subscribe if you want to see it. It's going to be pretty detailed from start to finish, or I might break it up into a couple of videos, because it's been a really long process and there's been a lot of steps of how we did it. Of course, we're not like construction people, and we're not saying other people should do it the same way, but this is just our journey to how we built this root cellar this way. So let's take you inside. Here we go. We repurposed the door secondhand because we had to cut it because it was too short of an entry for a typical door. So we have a little breezeway, and then this is the main root cellar. Ooh, it's chilly in here. I could check the temperature if I could find that thermometer. Let's see. What are we at? We are at about 55. Nice. Okay. We've already started putting stuff in here. Work in progress. Lights are hanging everywhere and stuff. Some pickles. We had a problem with pickles popping open in our pantry, and I discovered it's because it was too hot in there. So we moved all the pickles out here because we do not water bath our pickles or our jalapenos or our banana peppers or any of those. And, you know, that's just our personal choice because we want them really crispy. These ones I did water bath, just the tops, because I was so sick of losing jars. And none of these are opened right now. We'd been losing about a jar a day in the other pantry. So this cool space really does matter. And it's helping those. We have a couple potatoes in here, some garlic we harvested, and we're going to replant. But it is a construction zone. So here's a look at it right now. If you want to keep watching on our channel, you can see what it ends up looking like. And I'm really excited about this one. It will be really nice to be able to use this. We do have 2 air vents. Nothing's really set up. So one on this side, one high one over in that corner. And a lot of other thoughts and details have went into this build. So that's where that's at. Now let's keep that cold air in there. I had to leave the door open though because there's no light. These raised beds, we already pulled the garlic out of those, but those will be nice to plant in again next year. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed our end of the season garden tour. We just don't know how much longer this will last as far as everything looking green and beautiful and vibrant. So we decided to do a garden tour now. It probably will end next week. So thank you so much for clicking on this video. And if you stuck around to this point, thank you for watching all of it. I hope you found something interesting or inspirational, or, you know, there's something you learned, or if you have some suggestions for us on ideas of varieties or different methods of how to grow different things, that's pretty interesting too. So I'd love for you to share those in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. And if you would like to subscribe, we would really appreciate it. And we'll catch you on the next one.